Welcome to I Wrote This News. Today is February 9th, 2022. It's Hump Day, and I am your news camel. Story number 1. Trey Gowdy criticizes Biden's promise to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court by arguing that a black woman from South Carolina should be nominated instead. Former South Carolina representative and naked mole rat impersonator Trey Gowdy said on his Fox News show Sunday that Joe Biden's pledge to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court was a stunt for political gain. Gowdy joined others who claimed that narrowing the pick is essentially reverse racism or affirmative action. Gowdy went on at length to praise Michelle Childs, a black judge from South Carolina, as a possible nominee to the post. He also said, quote, "There's a difference between picking someone who is supremely qualified and happens to black, and picking someone because she is black." Here is Biden's full quote on his thoughts about who he will nominate. Quote, "The person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications, character, experience, and integrity, and that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court. It's long overdue in my view. Of the 115 Supreme Court judges to date, 108, or 94%, have been white men." Story number 2. Enough with the black hole that is the Joe Rogan Experience already. Former President Donald Trump and current Florida Governor Ron DeSantis both weighed in on the Joe Rogan mess, offering the same unsolicited advice to Rogan, namely, don't apologize. The advice comes after Rogan admitted using the N-word repeatedly on his podcast, and likening being in a black neighborhood to being in Planet of the Apes. Said Trump, "Joe Rogan is an interesting and popular guy, but he's got to stop apologizing to the fake news and radical left maniacs and lunatics. How many ways can you say you're sorry, Joe? Just go about what you do so well and don't let them make you look weak and frightened," noted the weak and frightened ex-president. Attempting to out-Trump Trump, DeSantis told Rogan, "Don't give an inch. Do not apologize. Do not kowtow to the mob. Stand up and tell them to pound sand." He went on to say that the only reason people were making such a fuss over Rogan's involvement in spreading COVID-19 misinformation and making racist comments is that Rogan can, quote, "reach so many people." Yes, I think it's safe to say that part of the reason folks are upset about what Rogan has to say and who he promotes on his show have maybe, just maybe, a little bit to do with how many people he reaches. In the meantime, Rogan has been offered $100 million to move his show from Spotify to Rumble, a right-leaning version of YouTube that might as well be called MeMeTube. Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovski asked Rogan, quote, "How about you bring all your shows to Rumble, both old and new, with no censorship, for $100 million over 4 years. This is our chance to save the world." No comment from the world, yet. In the meantime, Whoopi Goldberg, who is out of view of The View for 2 weeks due to her comments about Nazis, Jews, and race, was spotted standing by her mailbox waiting for a similar offer. "We think you'll have to try a lot harder, Whoopi." Story number 3. Be kind, don't rewind. Stephanie Grisham, a former White House press secretary, says that former President Trump was mesmerized by the January 6th attack on the Capitol. In fact, she says that his attention was so rapt that he hit rewind and watched certain moments again. In the type of statement that would have been shocking only a few years ago but now is a yawner, Trump is reported to have said about the rioters at the Capitol, quote, "Look at all of the people fighting for me." At one point, the president was confused why staffers weren't as excited as he was watching the unrest unfold. Lieutenant Colonel Keith Kellogg has testified that White House staff wanted the president to take immediate action to address the violence consuming the Capitol, but Trump refused. The president ultimately agreed to a video statement. Multiple takes were filmed but not used. In each one of the initial takes, he failed to ask rioters to leave. The final video was released on Twitter at 4:17 p.m., a couple of hours after the Capitol was breached by rioters. Story number 4. Do you know where they keep the rubber bands? Former President Donald Trump last month handed over to the National Archives 15 boxes of who knows what that he had taken with him when leaving office. Trump had been legally required to leave the contents of the boxes in the custody of the federal government, officials said on Monday. Trump originally claimed, "Look, my people tell me that it's just some office supplies. When you get let go from a job, people say that you're entitled to take as many Sharpies and paper clips and Post-it notes as you can stuff into your briefcase. I don't know, but that's what people are saying. Everyone knows that. At least that's what my people, your people actually? That's what they are telling me." The boxes contained items taken from the White House's residence during a hasty exit after Trump had spent the bulk of the presidential transition trying to find ways to stay in power, according to 2 people familiar with the process of how the boxes were returned. At the time, Mr. Trump's aides were either preoccupied with helping him overturn the election, trying to stop him, or avoiding him. Trump is also being criticized for his habit of tearing up official documents that later would have to be taped back together to comply with document preservation laws. One of the people tasked with putting Trumpty Dumpty back together again was document analyst Solomon Lardy. Armed with rolls of clear Scotch tape, Lardy and his colleagues would sift through large piles of shredded paper and put them back together, he said, like a jigsaw puzzle. Now White House aide Omarosa Manigault-Newman claims that former President Donald Trump would sometimes eat torn-up documents. She told MSNBC, quote, "After Michael Cohen left the office and I walked into the Oval, Donald, in my view, was chewing what he had just torn up. It was very bizarre because he is a germaphobe. He never puts paper in his mouth." No word on whether that document was retrieved and patched back together. February 9th is the 40th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. 325 days remain until the end of the year. Now it's time for On This Date in History. On this date in 1942, year-round daylight saving time is reinstated in the United States as a wartime measure to help conserve energy resources. On this date in 1964, the Beatles make their first appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show, performing before a record-setting audience of 73 million viewers across the United States. On this date in 1971, Satchel Paige becomes the first Negro League player to be voted into the US's Baseball Hall of Fame. On this date in 2021, just 1 year ago, the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump began. Celebrating birthdays today are actor Joe Pesci, novelist Alice Walker, actress Mia Farrow, mathematician Carol Wood, baseballer Mookie Wilson, singer Travis Tritt, actor Charlie Day, journalist Manu Raju, actor Tom Hiddleston, Barbadian netball player Sean Seal, and American philosopher and theologian John Cobb. He turns 97 years old today. Happy birthday to all of them, and if your birthday is today, a very happy birthday to you as well. By the way, if you or someone you know is having a birthday and would like us to announce it on the show, leave us a voice message or send an email. The links are in the show notes. Today's news was brought to us by Fox News, CNN, Yahoo News, The Independent, The Associated Press, The New York Times, MSNBC, and the website that's more reliable than my Subaru, Wikipedia. If you have a comment or a question about anything you've heard today, or if you have a suggestion, please send us a note at I wrote this news, all one word, at thatradioshow.com. That email address one more time is I wrote this news, all one word, at thatradioshow.com.
One more thing, if this podcast sounds a little funny, that's because it's also an experiment. All of the vocals were generated using AI technology. Hopefully the show will sound different and better as the tech improves and as we improve at using it. I'm Bob Meese, hoping you have an amazing day. We'll get together again soon.